This episode is sponsored in part by PTZ Optics. Why hire a camera operator when the control is in your hands? Visit ptzoptics.com for more information. And by NewTek, makers of the TriCaster TC1. Stun your viewers, not your accountant. Visit newtek.com for more information.
Well, hey there, guys. I was just going to say it's Friday, but it's not. It's Thursday, and it's time for some Creators Corner, and we have a fun show for you tonight here. I'm finding more and more great creators out there, and this one I titled Mysterious Mystacles, and I know that's the wrong way to say it. We're going to get into that as to why it's Mystacles, because I've gotten a lot of people hitting me up on Facebook going, "Who's Mystacles?" And I'm like, no. Nope. I was corrected last week. So we're gonna get into that. But before we do, I want to do some housekeeping like I do every week. If you have a question, feel free to put it into the chat room, and we'll get to it if it pertains to what we're talking about. If it doesn't, remember we always do a Q&A at the end that you can ask Matt a bunch of questions that hopefully he has answers for. If not, he's going to have fun trying to answer them anyways. I did want to let everybody know that this Saturday night, I believe at 8:30 p.m., I'm going to be having a bunch of friends over to my game room, and you're probably wondering, well, that's nice for you. Why are you telling us this? And the reason why I'm telling you this is I have set up a multi-camera setup. We are going to be doing a live Mario Kart tournament, as you can see there in my game room. That's in the other room there. You can see I have two Mario Kart steering wheel setups that we're going to be playing on that TV. We will be capturing the video. You're not going to see it with a camera. I actually have it set up to capture it. We'll have different camera views with everybody that's in the room. So if you're not doing anything this weekend and you want to kind of hang out, be in the chat room, watch me probably get my butt handed to me with a bunch of friends that are coming over, we're going to have a good time. If you guys are into Mario Kart 8 on the Switch, we're going to have a lot of fun with that. So that's coming up Saturday. I believe it's around 8:30. I'll set up a timer or a schedule on YouTube so you guys can check that out. It should be a lot of fun. Yes, we actually play video games. We don't just talk about them. And so does my guest this week. So I want to tell you about Matt here. Matt, he was born in the late 80s, and he is very much a product of the 90s. His passion for games developed in a big way in his time, in that time, and would last almost has gotten even stronger as he's gone on. Today, he considers himself very much an average man, family-oriented, and a foreman in the construction industry who just loves games and making content. My guest this week, we've got Mystacles, Mr. Matt. How you doing, sir?
Pretty good, man. Thanks for having me.
It's great to have you finally on here. We've had some scheduling conflicts, and the whole thing got shuffled. But anyways, you're here. It's good, and you've got one of the most interesting names that I've seen. As you guys know, I got corrected last week on the show when I said you were coming on next, and tell us a little bit about that before we get into this. Mystacles. Why is it Mystacles instead of Mystacles? Or where did that name even come from? There's got to be something.
Okay, so I haven't even got into like the origin name of my channel on my channel yet, but I might as well do it here. So when I was first contemplating starting the channel, probably about almost just about 2 years ago now, I was working 50 hours a week, 50 plus hours a week, and it's gone down now, but I had to commute, an hour plus back to work and back every day. So, add 10, 12 hours in commute time. Newborn son at the time, he's 3 now. Wife, house, everything that comes with it. I was like, how am I going to do this? So put that back to the side for a second. I'm also a big fan of Greek mythology, and in lore, Mystacles was a great general, a great planner, predates Alexander. So that's Alexander was more cemented in the historical facts, Mystacles was not. So while I'm sitting here writing out all the different equipment I would need,
Mhm.
you know what I mean, how I'm going to go about making all these videos, what types of videos I'm going to need, you know, how I'm going to rearrange my entire game room and even make another room that would be a YouTube studio at the time. I didn't even know. I was like, I would have to be a planner as brilliant as Mystacles to do this. I was like, oh, wait, that's a pretty badass name.
Yeah.
It's probably not the most strategical name if you're trying to, like, you know, get well known as a game reviewer or anything like that on YouTube. But I thought it was pretty sweet, so I rolled the dice with it. I even got me a pixel artist to make my little mascot you see throughout my videos.
It's always awesome to hear the story behind the names that people have, because it was funny because we had some people that were just like, there's really no secret sauce about it. I just kind of thought about it, and there it was, you know. So to hear the story behind that, and in case anybody's wondering, like, you might have seen, you know, I have Matt there, but it said Ryo on the Facebook page, Ryo Hasuky. You can actually look him up on Facebook if you want to friend Matt on Facebook for that.
I go by many names. Ryu, Matt, Mystacles, they're all good. There's a funny story behind. There's a funny story behind that too. So if you don't mind me getting into it, for a
No,
quick second,
absolutely. But in the meantime, you guys, you can check out his YouTube channel. You go over here to youtube.com
yeah, there I am.
/at Mystacles, Mystacles, and you can see a ton of his videos that he's got going on. Here, go give him a subscribe and like his content. He's got a good. So let's go back to the story. What do you got?
So the Facebook page got started before I got started on YouTube, and going into Facebook, like, I never had a Facebook, I never had like a MySpace, never had no social medias ever prior to this, and I hadn't heard great things. We'll just put it that way about Facebook. You know, negative this, negative that. And I was like, well, maybe I don't want to go into this, you know, with my first name and all that. I'm going to go into this as Ryo Hasuky. It's my favorite game character. I mainly was doing it for Marketplace at the time. But it was kind of funny because that was kind of another thing alongside with YouTube that kind of got the ball rolling mentally for even making a channel. Because I was like, man, look at this community. Like,
Right.
you know what I mean? I got into for Marketplace like a collector, like, oh, I'm gonna scam me some deals, you know what I mean? I'm
Yeah.
like, beyond that, I started getting into all the groups, you know, talking to all the people, and this is before the channel. I was like, man, there's an awesome community here, you know what I mean? So I thought that was kind of funny how I started it for one thing and it led me down a whole nother path.
But you know what, though? There are people out there that have, we're going to say, careers that, you know, they can't give their real name out. They might be government workers, they might be
Right.
caseworkers, or they might be nowadays with even teachers. It's they also will go by other names because they don't want the students friending them, and they don't want to have like that relationship where things could go awkward. We'll say it like that, right? So,
Right.
when I read your name, I was telling Matt, when he was messaging me on Facebook, and then I was also getting emails, but they were using the same logo, and I'm like, I am so confused. Like, I didn't know. And then we got that cleared up. But it was just
You wouldn't be the
weird.
first one.
Well, no, but I'm like, man, I know the name is a game character, you know. So I'm sitting there going like, okay, maybe he doesn't want to put that out there, which is totally fine. I've been the stupid one and used my real name online. So for almost 20 years. So at this point, people can show up at my doorstep, and that's just how it is. So, so let's go back. You said you're a child of the 80s, but you're a product of the 90s.
Yeah.
You know, you've heard me ask this many times on this show and the interviews and stuff. Did you grow up with video games, or were your parents kind of like, nah, they're going to rot your brain and you had to rely on your friends? How did it start for you?
Nah, man, I had awesome parents. They're no longer with us anymore, but I thank God every day for the time I had with them, especially growing up. So when we started the 90s, probably about 92, I was probably 4 years old or something like that. We got a 2600, and that's like that's the first console we had, and I played Frogger on that, Breakout. I mean, we had like 8 games, and I played them over and over. But we'd only have that for probably about a year or so, and then we get an NES. So it was a slow start,
Mhm.
but by the end of the '90s, we had like most of the mainstream consoles. So we didn't have the Panasonics or the 3DO or the I mean, we didn't Sega CDs. We had a Saturn. That was about the most exotic we had, and it didn't last long before it broke. but but yeah, no, my parents were not like that. You know what I mean? And I don't feel like they really had to be. We spent a lot more time outside just to begin with out there. You know what I mean? Back then, anyway. So we really didn't play unless we were inside. But when we did, we got down hard. But yeah, my parents were cool with it. They blessed me growing up. You know what I mean?
Awesome.
But it was also kind of funny. Lead into another little story. I would leave for a work outing, basically a work venture when I was 18 for Seattle, and I'd be gone a year, and I would come back, and I would come like the day I got back. My parents were having a garage sale, and I think you know where I'm going here.
Your stuff is
And
gone.
yeah, apparently it had been a series of garage sales, and the only 3 games I have left from my childhood, they're all loose discs. They're all except for one, they're all Sega Dreamcast are over there. But I thought that was always kind of a funny story. They gave me so much of the gaming and everything growing up for so many years. And then I come back from this workbench, and they're like, "Well, we ended up selling all that crap."
Note to parents out there: if you're watching this right now, don't do this to your kids. Don't sell their stuff. It's one thing if they sell it, then it's on them. But we just may want it one day, right, Matt?
Oh yeah, most of it was pretty common stuff, but I did have a pretty sweet stack of Dreamcast games I wish I still had. Giga Wing 2,
Oh,
Mars Matrix, like there were some good ones in there.
yeah, yeah. So,
But they're just things, you know what I mean?
well, let me ask you. You said you were blessed growing up. You had the Atari. Was that your first console growing up? Was it the Atari 2600
Yep,
or
it
was
was
it?
a 2600,
Okay, so now
like
I don't
23 or
feel so
4.
old. Because everybody you've had in the past couple of weeks have been Super Nintendo has been like their first console, right? You
Right.
and I are 3 or 4 generations deep in video games by that point. So, um,
Yeah, I just don't think my parents were like that into it at the time, and I mean, I was only like 4, so they were like, well, they probably got it at a garage sale or something. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like, here's a video game system, son. You know what I mean? Like, it was like '92, but I didn't know any different. So I had Command and Breakout and stuff. I had a good time. Like I said, we only had it for like a year and a half or so, and then we got an NES, and I don't even know what happened to that Atari after that, but I still have fond memories for the Atari. I don't know if you can see
yeah,
it back there, but I got my CIB 2600. I'll always have a
nice.
soft spot for the 2600.
So that was going to be my next question. I was going to ask is about your favorite console growing up because we talked to Johnny last week and TurboGrafx 16 that was his console growing up, which was rare
Hmm.
because a lot of my friends didn't have it. I didn't have it. Were you in that NES camp? Were you in that Genesis camp, or did you kind of hang on to that Atari for a good while?
No, no. Once we got the NES, it was probably like 94, 95, which is late when you think about it
Oh
compared to
yeah,
what's out. But
yeah.
that's when we got it. It was pretty much ruled, and then the progression and how fast we would get consoles like really got amped up at that point. Like we got an NES, and then I think it was like a year later we got a Super. Then there's like a year later we got the Genesis. I still have that on VHS. The Christmas
Mm.
I got my Genesis, and and then I remember getting the Saturn at the flea market, like probably like 97, 98. So that's what I was saying. Like we started off so slow and it just progressed so fastly. By 2000, the beginning of 2000, I'd had the Dreamcast, and
Okay.
that's probably one of my most sentimental consoles because even though mine's freaking broke right now, uh, that's still to this day the only console I've ever got day one of release, 99.99.
Yep, I did too. Yeah.
I'll never forget it. And yeah, I was probably like 11 or 12 or something like that at this point, and it was so spontaneous. Like I'd been talking about it obviously, and commercial came on. We're sitting there. My mom looked at me like, "You want to go to Walmart and see if they got one of those?" And I was like, "Heck yeah, I want to."
So I'm in the car.
We went there. I came home with Hydro Thunder, man. It
Oh,
was
it's a great game.
a few months later, we'd get Shenmue, and that's still to this day my favorite franchise, especially the first one. So yeah, real soft for the Dreamcast.
Well, let me ask you. You want to talk about those some of your favorites and soft spots for the Dreamcast. Let's go back. What was one of your favorite games for the Atari growing up, and then what would you say for the NES since you did get it later on? I know a lot of people, inquiring minds in the chat room, are going to want to know. Like, he's really big on the 2600. What was his favorite game?
Definitely Frogger. That's the one that
Yes.
sticks out the most in my memory. And Defender, Breakout, Command. You know, what I mean, these. Like I said, I only had like 8 games, but it's crazy. Like, hey, BD Retro Mods, awesome, man. Thank you. You're awesome. You're here. Um, I keep finding new games for the Atari that I like. I got like 60 of them back here now.
You're not allowed to
I've
like a
never-
bunch of them. You're just allowed to like one of them. No, I'm just kidding.
But definitely Frogger. If I had one to pick one that really stood out in my mind for the 2600, Frogger. Probably for the NES, Mario 2. Mario 2 has always been my jam. If I'm playing alone, still to this day, that's my go-to NES game. That Jackal, it's tough between them two. Super, I don't know. Super Ghouls and Ghosts. I return to that a lot.
Ooh, that's a
Alien
tough
Wars.
game, man.
Oh, it's tough.
Ooh, that's brutal.
You get the double jump on the Super at least, you know.
Well, this is so you and I were talking before the show, and I said, I have a lot of those arcade one-up cabinets. I got about 27 of them in here. One of them is the Final Fight cabinet, which has Super Ghouls and Ghosts on it, and I beat it on there, which is tougher because you don't have like the continues and stuff as
Right,
much,
right.
right? But you're playing with sticks and buttons, which give me the gamepad any day. Any day. So to hear you say that's one of your favorites, like people think I'm nuts when I sit there. It's like I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the soundtrack that just sucks you in, even though it's repetitive. What does it for you?
It's that factor of I can get just a little bit more, you know what I mean? Like, oh, now I know how to get past that one. I can jump over that one, you know what I mean? It's just that little bit more, and it's so addictive, you know what I mean? It keeps you want to come back for more over and over. And I can get pretty far without using save states or anything nowadays.
Yeah, I think that's the big thing now. These kids are spoiled today. They're spoiled with all these save states, and it's funny to see some of our games like on these mini consoles because now you can save certain games that you and we'd put it on pause and shut our TV off and go to bed and then come home after
Right.
school the next day
Right.
and turn it back on and hope to God like when like our parents when we used the living room TV, everybody was at work, nobody messed with it. But when we got our own TV in our room, it was just kind of like, okay, we're gonna pause this and pray the power doesn't go out, right?
Oh yeah, man. I had booklets filled up with passwords, swords and serpents, and I mean, Star Tropics
yeah.
and all kinds of different passwords. And then you would label them all wrong, you know what I mean, and start getting them. This isn't Star Tropics password, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
So what I used to do is, and I don't know how you did it, but when I got the Game Genie, I used to write in the back, which I know all the collectors out there are going to kill me for it, but I used to write in the back of the book because they'd have notes in the back, and I would put all my codes in there, so that way I knew I was going to lose my Game Genie book, right? Because I had all the codes that you needed for the Game Genie, so I would put them all in the back there or in the back of the manual.
smart. It's smart. I would just wrote them on loose pieces of paper and lost them often.
Yeah, or you memorize them, right? Like when.
Right.
What was it? The NES cards that came out where they had like the punch out codes to get the Mike Tyson and some of the other ones, the Konami code. You just learn to memorize a lot of these codes. Like, yeah,
the little super cheat code books and stuff.
yeah.
Oh yeah, I remember saving my pennies and going and buying those things. That's how bad it was back before we had the internet or anything.
So I actually know the code by heart to get to Mike Tyson on Mike Tyson's Punch Out. I want to throw this out there to our live audience. How many of you guys know what that code is, and how many can put it in the chat room without Googling it? Be honest. We want to see Mystacles and myself are watching, put it in the chat room if you know what it is, because I know what it is off the top of my head, and I will say it after we see if you can do it. So
Nice.
I want to see, because those are things that are out there that see how quickly people can put it in there, and we'll see how many people Google it. We'll see how long it takes, right? So you had all this. What was your friends' main consoles like? Did they get on board with the Atari? Were they NES heads? Were they Genesis heads? Or did they just kind of go with the flow?
I'd say it was a pretty mixed bag growing up. Some people had multiple consoles. Both Sega and Nintendo. Some people had, the PlayStation only later on, and never even had Nintendo or nothing before that. And I'd say it was a pretty mixed bag. It wouldn't be till I was like 13 when I met somebody with a Sega CD and played what would end up being my favorite turn-based RPG, the first Luna, first Sega CD, specifically. And it's crazy because it was like 20 years later before I was able to get my own.
I'm with you. So growing up, you had these consoles. They had the Genesis. What was probably the rarest one that you remember? Rare by today's standards, we'll say, not rare back then. What was, by today's standards, rare? What system do you remember playing?
Sega CD.
Sega CD.
Sega CD. I never seen nobody with a 3DO or Neo Geo or anything like that. You know what I mean? I never even seen nobody with a Turbo Graphics. So
that's.
I never even seen a Master System till I was like 18. Like.
Now, my buddy did have a Master System, and I ended up. He was actually getting rid of it. No, you couldn't find games for it. He didn't want it. I think I remember giving him $10 for it, but it was the Master System. Was it 2 or 3? It's the real small one. It looked like a toaster.
3.
Was it the 3? Because I have the original Master System now in my collection, the real big one with the 3D glasses and stuff. But I don't remember seeing that as a kid growing up. I just saw the small Master System 3, right?
Right. And that's the one I want with the 3D glasses. I want to play some Space Harrier.
Oh, yeah. Well, I didn't get that until now. Like, I think about a year ago I got it. I found it complete a box. Which somebody put in the 3D glasses. It wasn't even supposed to have them with it, and I ended up getting it with it. So,
score.
That's 100% the way I feel. So, you're saying the Sega CD? I don't remember ever seeing the Sega CD growing up either. Master System was kind of rare by today's standards. So, you guys grow up. You're playing games at your friend's house. You're having a good time. The next thing I'm going to ask you is kind of a sore spot, because I know you said your parents were selling some of your stuff at yard sales when you were off your job.
Right.
Was there that time between getting out of high school, kind of going into college, where video games were like the furthest thing from your mind? You didn't have them. You didn't have time for them. Talk us through that one.
No, I haven't hit that point in life yet. So I was getting pretty big into PC gaming when I was 18, and when I went out to Seattle for my work venture, and I brought my PC, and I just did a whole lot of single player, PC games when I was gone, and came back to find out all my consoles were gone, and that was fine, and moved out on my own like a year or so after that, and I don't know, it was probably like a year and a half before I got my first console again, which was a PS2, and that was my girlfriend that got it for me even. So she kind of rekindled all of this, really.
So what he's saying is she's to blame.
Right.
And I see Richadello in the chat room. He actually got the correct code. I wanted to see, Richadello, did you cheat? Did you Google it? Because it took a while for you to put it in there. But it's 007-373-5963 is the password to get to Iron Mike Tyson. In that I used to know a lot of them by heart, and I'm not going to pretend to know it now, like for King Hippo and some of those other ones. But that was the thing growing up, right? We memorized the codes, we memorized different things. We would tell. I remember, and tell me if this was true with you growing up. I remember when my parents would take me to the mall, and there would be a bookstore. Once I discovered the bookstores had those cheap books in there, they would walk around the mall, and I would sit in there and try to memorize as much as I could to try to figure out how to beat certain games that I struggle with, Castlevania 2 Simon's Quest being one of them.
Nice. Yeah, that is a difficult one. You never figure that out on your own. Um, I didn't not that same exact experience, but probably a little similar. So I would see them for sale. Sometimes you'd see them for sale at Blockbusters, or sometimes at like different video stores, First Choice Video or whatever, Hollywood. You know, maybe sometimes even different drugstores in town would sell them.
I think I don't know if you muted there, Mystacles. Did you mute your microphone, or did something? I lost your audio. Sometimes Windows, um, it disconnected him. He's like, no, no, I still don't have your audio. He was there a little bit ago, and then let's see if we can get him back here. Now, this is the first. I haven't had this before where somebody's audio just went completely cut out. But it was going. We'll see what happens here. Game Closet says, I was going to guess 876-5309. 8675309. No, you have it backwards. It should be 8675309 from that song. Let's see if we can try to refresh it maybe. And let's see if we can do that.
Testing.
Hey, we got you back.
My bad. So I don't know why my audio.
Oh, you kicked out again there, bud. So he figured out something. He has a weak cable or something. He's playing with it. So we'll give him a chance to fix that, and we'll continue on. And once he is able to get that tied up, but I want to let you guys know we're going to take this opportunity. We'll take a quick break while he's doing that. I appreciate everybody bearing with us here. Next week, we are going to have the godfather of video games on with us. If you don't know who that is, Mr. Glenn Planamento, Glenn's Retro Show. If you haven't seen or heard of him, go check him out on YouTube. He will be here next week. We're going to go back down his memory lane and bring your shopping bags. Yes, you heard me right. Bring your shopping bags with you, and you'll understand why next week, because that's going to be a lot of fun. What we're going to do is we're going to take a quick break, and hopefully when we get back, we can get Mystacles all sorted out. We'll be right back right after this.
Hey guys, let me tell you a little bit about something to do with energy. We all could use a little bit of energy in our lives, especially when we're gaming out there, right? We could all use some form of energy supplement, something to keep our mind sharp and our energy and our focus on the games. And that's where one of my latest partners, and that is MAW Energy, MAW Energy. And I want to tell you a little bit about it here today. And they have a plethora of different flavors and choices amongst everything that they have here. At MAW Energy, the mission is to fuel the gaming community with the highest quality energy. And that's one thing I like about these guys. They have a highest quality of energy focus blend on the market, and their special formulated energy drink provides gamers with sustained energy bursts and focus without the jitters and crashes. I can tell you that for certainty. Commonly associated with all the other energy drinks that I've seen personally on the market, and they're passionate about the gaming community and understand the unique demands that it places on the mind, the body, and even the soul. That's why we've partnered with this company to bring you the MAW Energy. Now, you can click on the link in the description below and check it out using my personal link. I get access to everything here, and I get credit for it. And you guys can see right here, Blue Raspberry. Blue Raspberry is one of my favorites. In fact, you guys will be able to see right here. I have the Blue Raspberry here, and this is one of my favorites, actually. I have this one, and I have the Mythic Melon. I haven't given that a try yet, but this so far, one of the things that I like about this is the fact that it's not chalky. A lot of times with these energy drinks, you get a little bit of chalk in there, and what I mean by that is that chalk aftertaste, or it doesn't dissolve. I can honestly tell you from experience, this here dissolves. So give it a try. Click on the link below and in the description and give it a try. You won't be sorry. I know I'm not.
We are back, and we have audio from Mystacles. Apparently, you lost power to your mixer or something, right?
Yeah, I'm still getting used to this thing, so I've only had it for a little bit, and it helps out with the streams, and it's kind of funny because I can like do sound effects and all that jazz, but it shut off for some reason, so gotta love technology, right?
No, and we were talking about the code books and stuff in the store, and I want to get you back there so you can kind of. But did you ever do that? Did you go in there and start trying to memorize for your favorite game? Any codes or cheats to beat the game?
So, like I said, all my exposure to code books probably were when they were for sale at Blockbuster or drugstores or other video stores and stuff like that. So I couldn't sit there and read them, but I definitely remember working jobs. Like I had a paper route. Like other times I would take the money from the paper route and buy soda and sell soda on the corner. I remember working to save up to buy things like that. Like not even just games. Like I got the game.
Yeah.
Now I need a way to beat it. So it's kind of a funny thought to think about it now. Like I had to get a job to figure out how to get a cheat code back then. You know what I mean? Now you can just look it up on your phone.
You can get on the internet. Well, that brings up an interesting topic because what was the last system that you remember getting? I know you said you really haven't given up on games, or you haven't taken that break like a lot of us did when we went to college. We were selling systems to pay for school books, or it was just our parents got rid of them. In your case, what was the last? Was it the Dreamcast? Was that your last big system before you kind of got to the point where now it's like you have an adult job and you have adult money that you can do stuff with?
I mean, for me, I'd probably consider the PC I built when I was like 18. That was kind of like the last big thing. Is like after the Dreamcast was the PS2. And it was a bleep, but it wasn't like a leaps and bounds going from like the 64 to the Dreamcast.
Okay. Well, I didn't know. So did you put the consoles on a shelf for a PC? Is that what you're saying?
I didn't put them on the shelf, but I was very interested. You know, what I mean,
Okay.
like we would still, play like at the very exact time I was staying at my friend's house, and we had a few of the consoles hooked up in the garage, and I have the PC like in the room. So if the console, especially the Dreamcast, which it's great for, was kind of like a party console. You know what I mean? We had 4 controllers, we'd all play together. You know what I mean? Have fun. But when I retired to my room, single player, it was PC at that time. So probably before I lost everything, probably the PC that I built. And I had to work really hard at the time and do a lot of all this research and all this and build the PC myself and all this. So it meant a lot to me at that time.
Yeah, I think we all went through the phase. Well, we all had PCs and stuff, but the biggest thing I hated about that was installing it and trying to get it to work for Windows. Because back in the day, as you know, drivers were the biggest crutch that anybody had when it came to gaming online.
Oh,
So.
I remember playing Doom on DOS. Like,
Oh yeah.
I remember playing Wolfenstein on DOS, paintball. Like, the PC was always there for us too. In a much smaller way until I built a nice one when I was like 15. But I still have a pretty good stack of big box PC games that I hold fond memories of growing up with too.
So before we get into your content creation and where you're at right now, you're still collecting, you're still playing. What is the system that you collect for the most right now?
So it's kind of weird how I collect. So a few years ago, maybe between 3 and 4 years ago, I wrote out a big booklet. And I've been collecting for about 14 years. I had a pretty vast collection at that time anyway, and I ended up purging a lot after that. But how I do my game hunting, it's not really like based off like, what I want to get right then. I look at my book, I know what I want, and when I see deals for those specific things pop up, I get them. But it's kind of funny, this year so far has been a Saturn year, which there hasn't been a Saturn year in a long time.
Wow.
And I've been finding some, I'm telling you, I got some bangers this year. Shining Force 2, Dragon Force, which I had to rebuy Dragon Force, which happens, but I was able to re-get it at a fair price, fair condition, and that's what's been kind of weird. Like, they kind of come to me in a certain ways. You know what I mean? Because I don't go out looking for anything, but I know what I want. I have a set list, which, like any gamer, I vary from that list, obviously, sometimes.
Oh yeah.
But I look for the deals that also fit what I'm looking for. You know what I mean? But this year's been a Saturn year so far, for sure, which is surprising because that's been a long time.
So of all the systems that you have right now currently, what's the biggest collection that you have for what console?
PlayStation 2. I think I got 70 games or so for PS2. I sold like I had 2,000 games total a couple years
Really?
ago, and now I'm down to 600. I had to get it down. You know what I mean? But
Wow.
the 600 though now, like I can walk up to almost any game off that shelf and like randomly grab one off and probably have a story that goes with it.
Wow,
It's
that's
getting very
crazy.
curated.
So what made you want to sell them though? To I mean, you had almost 2,000 games as a collector. Inquiring minds want to know. Was it just they weren't getting played? You didn't have the room, or was it just so you could fund buying other games?
Kind of like a mix of all three. If you remember, 3 or 4 years ago when I did this, prices of games were pretty outrageous. You know what I mean? And I went through my whole collection, and I was trying to make like a final list. You know what I mean? It's funny how things change, but a final list, and then I was like, well, I don't really need all these, and even out of that 600, there's probably a good 50 or 60 that I just kept across all the different 25 platforms that I collect for. That are kind of like future games for my son. Like, oh, Spider-Man, he might like that. I'm not real big on Spider-Man, but what I mean, he might like that. I kept some SpongeBob games. I kept some different ones that I might not play, but he may be interested in. So
Right.
there's still some filler in there. But it was a combination of I don't need all these, I don't play all these. A lot of times, over the years before like, 2016 and stuff, I would see huge bulks on Craigslist and Marketplace and stuff. Not Marketplace, but mainly Craigslist, and big box of games, $50, and I'd go and get them. You know what I mean? And it was a long time before I actually purged a bunch of them, and yeah, it was cool. Yeah, I was able to buy a bunch of cool stuff, a bunch of big, CIB consoles that I have now, and I
Yep.
was happy I did it. Like,
See, I'm of the other mindset. I'll find room somewhere to put them. Like I'm at the point where I'm trying to get as many complete sets as I can. Like I've been working on the NES. I'm also collecting for the SNES at the same time. I blame Brandy for all this. I just want to state that for the record here. But no, trying to collect. I don't know. It's something that, and I don't know if you feel the same way or even the chat room feels the same way. But I'm finding now there's games for some of these systems that I didn't even know existed.
oh yeah, that's part of the fun of it all. Like,
Like
there's so many games that I mean, like that weren't on the list 5 years ago, and now they're now on the list.
I mean, I just look at the big collection that Sony, the PlayStation 2 you mentioned. What is that? That has over what 2,000 games in it for a complete
Oh
set.
yeah, Sony. Yeah, the PS2's way up there. The Wii's way up there. The Switch is the king now. I'm like, I think it's debatable, but right around 4,000. Like,
I mean, there's so many games out there. You look at the library of like a TurboGrafx 16, what has a little bit over 150 titles or something.
right,
It's not
32X, like
32x, even
Wonder Swan.
the
Like,
Jaguar.
yeah,
So the Virtual Boy's got what 25,
Virtual Boys of super small
something
library.
like that. So then Nintendo. I thought that was a big undertaking. Over like 675 titles. I don't even know how many on the SNES, but I'm starting to find there's games like it's like getting a brand new system. It's like getting a PS5 or an
Hmm.
Xbox Series X because there's games that's like wow, like I can't believe that. Now, saying all that, I'm getting somewhere with this, obviously. Is that what really drew you in to collect? Because you're probably one of the first guests that I've had that you didn't lose that passion or you didn't kind of walk away from it a little bit because life happens. You kind of
Right.
followed that all the way through. What's been your motivation for that?
Well, I think a part of that was like, I immediately, got out of school and started working in construction. So I immediately went into my trade and I was making pretty good money at the time, you know what I mean? So I've kind of always had disposable money, like not a brag or nothing like that.
No, no,
That's
of
just
course
kind of
not.
how it happened. And I'm like, obviously, I've had my ups and downs. And I've had to sell games and all that jazz and everything in between, you know what I mean? But I would say that's probably, a big difference of it. I never really had to make that choice, but
Right.
there was still almost 2 years, where, I would just game on my PC before that, those retro feelings started coming back, you know what I mean? When they did though, and it's still, like I said, it's been like 14 years and, it's not like I got well, I guess I probably shouldn't say a crazy collection. It takes up 2 rooms, so. But
But that's the thing. People have a hard time with being motivated. To continue doing that. Um, so it's good to
I
see
just love
that.
playing games.
Yeah, oh
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
That's another thing that about it is that I've learned from YouTube and stuff, and like from collecting over the past not just from YouTube, but overall collecting over the past 4 or 5 years. I'm way more of a gamer than a collector or a content creator or anything. Like there's so many opportunities where it's like, man, I can get this game right now, loose disc at this price, or I can wait and get it CIB. I always take the loose option. I'm like, I'm gonna get it loose. If it comes later CIB, if I really want it that bad, I'll get it then too. But
Okay,
it's all about playing the game to me,
it's about
and
playing the
that's
game.
always the defer to me factor for me. It was funny learning that over the past 3 years because when you collect for over 10 years, you start to wonder that,
Yeah,
Not- do you go for the hunt? Do you go for the game? You know what I mean? And I'm definitely finding out for sure that it's all about the game. Like,
it's funny because the older stuff, I'm finding I'm playing that more than the modern stuff because I'm like I said, I'm finding games that I never had. But I definitely enjoy the hunt. The hunt is a driving force for me. Okay,
right?
because sometimes time doesn't allow. So speaking of time, you're a gamer, you're hardcore, you're buying these games 2,000 deep. All of a sudden, life doesn't happen. You decide, well, let's join this rat race that they call YouTube.
Right.
So, how did that all start? Walk us through this. What made you decide to join this cult that we call YouTube?
Well, a part of it. So I had just been getting introduced into the retro community on Facebook. So I was like, I mean, this is an awesome community, you know what I mean? And that kind of led me into watching YouTube content creators because before COVID, like probably right at when COVID started, was when I really started watching content creators on YouTube, retro gaming. Before that, YouTube for me was just like music, how tos, and maybe like some walkthroughs. Like seriously, yeah, I mean, I was under a rock, okay. And I started watching. I was like, man, that's so cool. The things these guys are doing, you know what I mean? They're capturing game. They're doing green screen. They're editing. A lot of it was the tech part of it, and just how neat it was to do all these different things. And knowing that you're gonna find out all kinds of cool games, you know what I mean, from watching them and doing it. I was like, oh man, that's so cool. And every once in a while, I'd watch a video and I'd be like, maybe I would have said something different there, or maybe there should have been another game on that list, or blase blase. And it kind of rolled up into that and what started it. But
Yeah.
the community is kind of like the biggest driving factor behind it now. The little
Yep.
little following I have on YouTube and all my friends and everything through Facebook and all the different content creators and everybody I've met along the way. It's I couldn't imagine anything else I'd rather be doing in my free time.
Yeah. Well, okay. So you talk about the community. You've actually intertwined yourself with Scott, Dr. Scott, with Game Closet. And I know you guys do a podcast, right? Together, a
Oh
lot of you
yeah,
guys.
the retro roundtable guys, Scott, Rob, Gene from Caps Off Gaming, Johnny Graphics, all my dudes, all great guys. Yeah, I'm kind of just like an honorary guest on their retro roundtable, but I enjoy it every time. And yeah, they're definitely my dudes. I talk to them on the daily, and especially Scott and Rob, they were a big introductory factor when it comes to because I was on Facebook and I was on YouTube, but I didn't really post a lot of stuff on, I mean, all like share, I mean, put it on the
Yeah.
Facebook and everything. Facebook was just kind of its own thing, and I would notice like they start sharing stuff.
So,
Like,
so what
hey,
you're
what's
saying that
up?
Rob and Scott are to blame for this? That's what I'm hearing. I'm listening
Not
to
to
this.
blame, but I definitely always give them mad props for always being there. Like when I'm still just getting started, but when I was really just getting started, and like for no reason, like man, this guy seems kind of cool. I'm just gonna promote his stuff just to be cool. They always did that, and big thanks, guys. I'm never gonna forget that.
Well, and so it's interesting. You mentioned the community because the community can be a double-edged sword, right? It could be a good
Right,
community, it could be a bad community. But what you're seeing even now with other creators, this has kind of reignited my passion in this place to in the community, to hang out and chat with guys like yourself, rather than the mindset has been on YouTube has been, well, you just don't stack up because your subscriber count doesn't meet what mine is. I'm not seeing that with the different people that I've interviewed so far on this show. Um, it's more about personality. It's more about, hey, are you a good person? Do you enjoy what I enjoy? Are you know what I mean?
right.
Like, are you doing this, uh, you know, because you have the heart and you have the passion for it? And that's what I want to ask you. If I never watched your channel, like maybe some of these people here in the chat room, maybe they've never seen this or you're watching this in reruns. Sell me on your channel. Why would I want to watch your channel when there's 50 million other people out there doing retro games? What? Because I can name some things. What do you bring to the table that
Oh boy.
differentiates yourself? I'm putting you in the hot seat now.
I get a lot of people in the comments that say like, man, you're super legit. You know what I mean? I like your reviews because you're such seemingly honest person and everything like that. You know what I mean? And I don't know if it's like, if this is gonna sell you on the channel or not, but I have a very improvised way of doing my dialogue and everything, and I think some people, you know, they like that opposed to more of a different, scripted sound, and a lot of people like scripted sound. Obviously, there's room for everything on YouTube, everything and all, but those are some things I've heard that it's like, man, I guess I'm pretty relatable to a lot of everyday collectors. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'd say that's a driving factor.
That's what I would have said to anybody watching. That would have been the first thing I would have mentioned is that you're relatable.
Right.
You and Rob, you have that persona about yourselves that you're very relatable. You don't put on this facade like you're like flipping on the camera and it's like, hey, this is as real as it's gonna get, right? Like
This is it.
this is how it's gonna go down. So I respect that, and that's one of the reasons that I watch your content and try to glean from the knowledge that you have. The second thing I would say is your knowledge. You have a vast knowledge in the gaming space, and I think if people are wanting to know facts and figures, if you're into that type of thing, Matt is your guy. And that I think are the two big selling points, at least for me, when I watch your content.
I do like to get, especially, I've only did a couple where I did like real deep dive reviews on games, and you'd be surprised like the research that is involved with that,
Oh, I
especially
believe it.
when you're covering 10 games plus and you want to know how they hit at the times, all the reviews at the time, and then you want to bring your comparison to them nowadays and try to convince people this is why you should play this now, even though it might have been rated bad at the time. Like the research is outrageous, but and then even though I had to do all that research, try to like say it in a real nice, relaxed, nonchalant way where it doesn't sound like it's really scripted or anything, which is just my style. I'm not saying don't do that or anything.
Totally.
That's just my personal way of doing things. And yeah, no, it's pretty. It gets pretty. I thought I knew some shit about gaming like 3 years ago, but I know a lot more now.
Well, I mean, it's like anything, right? It takes time. It takes,
Right,
putting in the research, putting in the gameplay hours to learn the game and not just read somebody else's commentary on it. So that's
right.
definitely commendable when it comes to a channel. So if you guys are liking that, that's definitely a plus in my book to sell me on that. So you've got this YouTube channel. You got these great bunch of guys. You're hanging out. You're making content. You're watching your numbers grow. Not that it's all about numbers, but you're watching it. Where is Mystacles right now? What's are you just riding the wave? I mean, what are you at right now?
That's a good way to put it, man. I'm pretty much just riding the wave. You know what I mean? A big part of it for me is also conventions. I can only go to like 3 a year or so, but I look forward to them every time.
Which
And I'm
3
looking
do you
forward
go
to seeing
to?
I'm going to the next conventions I'll be going to will be Korgs in Columbus, Ohio,
So you'll
June.
see me. So you'll see me.
June. Is it June 1st, June 10th,
June
something like
1st.
that?
June 1st,
June,
Saturday. Yep.
and then Torg at the same Columbus. You know what I mean? Columbus,
Mm-hmm.
Ohio, in November. That'll be the next two conventions. I went to one in Cincinnati a few weeks ago, and I was trying to get a video out for it, but something happened with the video clips, and it's not rendering right. So I don't even know if that's gonna happen
So
now. But
you're an Ohio boy, right?
oh yeah, yep, born in Ohio.
So like me, all the good content creators are from Ohio. I'm just kidding.
Right? Like I
Uh,
thought it was just me. Like,
Cleveland's another one you need to, if you can get to. You need to go to Cleveland. If you, I don't know where you are. No, we don't need to talk about it on live air, but just putting it out
right.
there.
I've
Cleveland
always
and
wanted to go to
Pittsburgh,
Cleveland. Yeah.
those two. I'll be at both of those. Great conventions. Tom and Brian, they put on great shows in Cleveland and Pittsburgh. So, but yeah, I plan on Gary's bringing me out as a guest at Korg, so I'll run into you there along with Dr. Scott and all the other cool kids that are
Oh
gonna
yeah.
be. I think Retro Rob's gonna be there, or at least that was the rumor going on, right?
Right. I think so. We'll see. Like, I don't want to
We'll see if he drives
disclose
up from
anything.
Texas. Yeah, Johnny Graphics. Johnny Graphics also in Ohio. Dr. Scott's in
Right.
Ohio, and hey, all the
Isn't
good.
Scott the Waz, Ohio, as well?
I believe so, and I'm going to take a page from the Ninja Turtles and say, well, all the good creators live in a state that ends with O. I'm just saying, just saying. So I'm kidding, of course. There's a lot of creators that are good from all over the place, but it's really cool for me as a guy in Ohio to meet so many great Ohio content creators that are like-minded, that are in the space, that are just chill and loving it. Oh, we got some other ones. Safetyist is in the chat room. He says, I'm in Ohio. So we got
There
a
you go.
lot of Ohio fellow folks in here. Waz is Toledo. Safetyist says, I'm only an hour away from Cleveland. So, Safetyist, we better see you in Cleveland then. So you're riding the wave. Now comes the point in this interview where I say, okay, not that you've achieved all your goals and your dreams and your aspirations and everything like that, but what does the future hold? Where do you want to see Mystacles go? Where do you want to see? And when I say that, I mean the channel, your personal collection. Is there something radical on the horizon? Tell us.
No, not really. I'm pretty much gonna keep riding the wave, man. I mean, obviously, there's always small improvements I'd like to get. Like I want to get some wall console mounts for my game room and stuff like that. But my game room is pretty complete. Like I've been working on it for like 3 years, and I don't see myself changing anything with that anytime soon. And with the channel, obviously you always hope for growth, but that was never really like why I got into it anyway. Like it was never like a cash grab or anything for me. You know what I mean? If I wanted to make more money, I would just go do more work. So it
Right.
was just trying to have a place to showcase some of my favorite games and different things. And then I got kind of going with the video game monthly videos, and that's been a lot of people like that apparently. So
Yeah.
I keep doing those. And I hope my hope for the future is that if things can just keep going as good as they're going now, I couldn't ask for more, honestly.
So I've been trying to think about different ways that I could spice up these so it's not the same mundane questions that I ask my guests all the time, but there's still some foundational questions that I do want to ask because I think it's important and it's always interesting to know the creator's take on it. But
Right.
I'm gonna put something out there and put you in a spotlight per se, and we're gonna put you up on a pedestal and say, okay, so for those out there that are thinking about this content creation rabbit hole that we are in this YouTube channel, from somebody that's just as chill as you and Rob and some of these other guys, what advice do you have for somebody out there that's kind of on the fence about this? They love this game, they love doing game collecting, but they've been thinking about maybe streaming some gameplay, maybe even doing a YouTube channel with reviews and pickups and things like that. What's some kind of advice that you would give them based on what you've learned as a content creator?
I mean, I would say if you're, into it and you're passionate about it, do it. And if you have the means to do it without upsetting any other balance in your life, it's not going to hurt anybody else or not going to hurt you in any way in the future. For sure, do it. You know what I mean? If it's going to make you happy and you have fun with it, if you're going to try to do it to go in and make money or something like that, it's going to be a lot harder because the audience, they see right through that stuff. You know what I mean? So, and I would also, speaking about hard work, I'm a part-timer when it comes to YouTube. I only put in about 12, 20 hours a week on creating content. I don't know what anybody else's numbers are, just based off a regular work week of 40 hours. I'm a part-timer. And with the way I make videos, everyone makes videos differently. I'm still only able to put out about a video every 2 weeks. So, keep that in mind. And that's with doing one stream a week and usually putting out like a short a day. Just to stay relevant across all their
That's
features,
dedication, just doing a short every day. We see
right,
Game Dad just showed up here in the chat room, so he was saying,
hey
what's up?
Chris, how you doing, man? Finished your video earlier. That was awesome pickup. But yeah, I would say do it. Don't think too much about like, if you're gonna make it big or do anything like that. Just do what you want to do and have fun. And hit record, and the rest will follow.
So now that we got the positive, right? So, what's been one of the most challenging aspects of being a content creator that you would put out there to somebody that wants to start out, or maybe somebody that's just kind of starting now and they're just like, oh, why did I do this?
Do your research on the different equipment that you want to buy very well. I couldn't tell you how much money I bought buying something that either didn't work the way I wanted it to, or that I didn't even maybe possibly need. So do your research on your equipment. It's going to save you a lot of time and money in the end. When you get it, play with it a lot. Don't just like, get it all set up and try to work with everything at once, the camera, the mic, everything that you're doing, the green screen. Don't try to do it all at once. Take it in bites, small pieces, you know what I mean? And you'll thank yourself in the end, because that's not what I did. Like my first week, I launched with 5 videos, and at the end of the week, I did a live stream, and I was streaming a VR game with green screen and everything. I don't suggest trying to do that your first week. Like,
yeah,
it did work out, but I did a lot of research beforehand.
Well, I think a lot of people they think that, and this is coming from a guy that's in broadcast. They think that if I can just buy the equipment, if I just buy the equipment these guys have, I too can be successful in it. And it's not just buying the equipment, like you just said. Play with the equipment, understand the equipment, learn how to use the equipment, right? Because you could have a green screen, but if you don't know how to use it, it's not going to look very well. It's not going to look good at all. So, good advice, very, very good advice. But I think a lot of people, they get starry-eyed when it comes to YouTube. They think that this is a way that they're eventually going to be full-time. In the sense of this is going to be their living. And it's funny, when I've interviewed different people that have made it, that are full-time, like, the Cherry Fives, the Nintendrews and stuff, and they, like, I had a sit-down panel with them at Cleveland last year, and they were telling everybody, like, you don't want to be full-time. Like, it's just that much challenging.
Right.
Some of the content creators that are full-time, I've talked to them, and they said if they could do it again, they wouldn't want to. They want to go back to just being, like you said, being fun, and doing the regular job that they feel like it's just consumed them. Do you ever feel like that when it comes to content creation?
Not really. I think it's because I've always had a pretty healthy balance for it. You know what I mean? I only set aside 12 to 20 hours a week, and that's 3 days a week, Wednesday, Saturday, Sunday, 9 o'clock and beyond. When I say beyond, I have to work the next day, so it's whatever I make it to, and I'm still able to make it to work at 7 in the morning. You know what I mean?
That's right.
So sometimes it's 9 to 11. sometimes if I'm really trying to get something out, it's 9 till 3 in the morning, and then guess what? You still got to get up in the morning.
That's right.
So you know what I mean?
You see, Game Dad here's poking at me here. He says, "Yeah," says the guy that the broadcast setup that would make a TV station jealous. Listen, I put in the time for the last 20 years. Yeah, again, I learned my craft. I learned. Am I the best? No. I mean, do I have a lot to learn? Oh yeah, everybody does. That, and I want to piggyback on that because I want to throw that at you. Is you get to a point, a lot of people get to a point where they feel like everything has gone stale, right? They feel like they're not learning anymore. And have you gotten to that point where you've had to make a pivot in your content or pivot in what you're doing because it just, not that you don't want to do the content anymore or the type of content you're doing with the gaming, but you've had to make a pivot away from the way you did it when you first started?
Right, I understand what you're saying. So, like, sometimes when you're making videos, you may be swayed on the type of videos you want to make based off what gets the best views that you've done in the past, or something similar to that effect that you've, got from your analytics. So, what I do is I draw 3 circles, and on the left side, I have the ideas that I want to cover, and on the right side, I have all the keyword research I do related to said videos. And then I find where those meet up in the center, and that's the video I do.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. So you have basically a layout of what you want to do. You bounce it off of other creators that are in your circle to see
Oh yeah,
what
for sure,
ideas or
for sure, always. Especially if it's something I feel like that's like bigger than like an average like unboxing video, or if I'm covering one game that's very special to me particular. Because that's another thing. I used to do this one mini series I called Mist Picks, where I picked
mm,
5 of my favorite games across any genre or any platform. You know what I mean? And it'd be the PS2. My favorite PS2 games, so on and so forth. And they didn't really get any like type of good views, right? And I was just getting started, and maybe I could have done them better now. But either way, it's the difference of making a video, because that was a personal video. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And there's other videos where there's also attention that people want from those videos.
right.
And sometimes they align where it's like, that's also something you want to cover. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So I'd say it goes back and forth. Yeah.
And I would throw out to you guys, as creators, and I was talking to Retro Rob about this. He put out, I want to say it was like a week ago. I had just got my Atari Lynx back from a Stone Age Gamer, where I had it for 2 years, but I didn't really get to play it because I had no sound and it was kind of wonky. It needed to be recapped. I finally took it down to them. They recapped it. I bought like an EverDrive for it, so I don't have to play I have like 5 or 6 original games because I buy them and I just kind of put them on the shelf. I'm one of those guys. Like, I'd rather have the EverDrive to play the game, and then I keep the original on the shelf. Well, it just so happened, I think it was the day I got it back, Retro Rob did a whole video on Atari Lynx, and I think he was like, oh man, I don't know how that was going to do. I don't know if a lot of people are. And I'm sitting there going, this was one of the best videos that I had seen that week, only because I don't have a lot of history with it, right? So
Right.
for me to sit there, I watched that video 3 times in a row just to see the different games because, like, you're working, you're in between it. But those are the type of videos you just don't know who you're touching with them, so to speak, because they've been like wondering, like about a certain system. Those videos that you do, videos that we do, those usually tend to be the best for people like me who maybe didn't have experience with it, but you did have experience with it. So I would encourage you to do more videos like that if you're thinking about something like that you have knowledge in those particular areas.
Right. And I think with the whole mist picks thing, I probably just maybe worded it differently. Like the same video probably would have did better with a different thumbnail and title, honestly. But because I do have a lot of passion for those exact games, so yeah, I see where you're coming from. But it is always nice to cover things that you're real passionate on.
Oh, absolutely.
For instance, one of the videos I've always been wanting to do since I started the channel is a fishing video. All the video games you can play a rod and reel with. And dude, I couldn't tell you how many consoles have rod and reels. Like, I've been collecting rod and reels since I started the channel trying to make this video, and I had like 6 to begin with. There's a lot more. I was like, man. So it's so funny, you know. I mean, one of the first ideas I've had, you know,
Well,
waiting to get all the hardware together. I
it's
still haven't been able to put
it's
together.
funny you say about the rod and reel. I had just found out. I bought a Super Scope 6 for the SNES, complete in box. I got a really good deal on it. And it has the 6 games that come with it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Growing up, my brother had it. I thought that was the only 6 games that they had for it. They don't. There's more games for that thing that I didn't know about. So if somebody has those games and you're looking for a video to do and you need the Super Scope 6, if you don't do it, I'm going to do it when I find those games to, you know, because I want to see those games. Like, I didn't know that beforehand.
I like the Super Scope too. I got one up here. I would suggest Yoshi's Safari.
Yoshi's Safari is one that I didn't know was. There's another one that's a submarine-based game. I can't think of the name of it, but
I don't know either. I know you're talking about.
But
there's a few.
What a good tool.
It's a very different type of light gun. How I found the Super Scope is I went down the light gun rabbit hole. 'Cause I'm a big light gun guy. There's only like 2 consoles left. I need to get a pair of light guns for, and I got all the light guns at that point.
Oh wow.
But, oh yeah, that was a long process in itself. But I was trying to get all the big box Time Crisis. I got one so far. I'm working on it, and Point Blank. I'm working on it though. But yeah, it's funny when you start going down a certain rabbit hole, rods, you know what I'm saying, light guns, you know, maybe even microphone games, you know what I mean, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
You never know where you're gonna end up.
Oh yeah, that's a rabbit hole, and it's like I didn't even realize I had to buy a 3D printed scope for the Super Scope because they sold it to me complete.
Lost a lot of the times.
That's what I'm finding. Like but I got a really nice 3D printed one with screws in it and everything, so it seems to work. But nobody, you can't find it anywhere. Like eBay, Macari, you can't find it. So if anybody's out there and you're selling one and you don't want it, just the scope, let me know. I'd gladly buy it. But yeah, I think those niche videos,
those oddball pieces that miss from a set, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
One thing, it's so stupid. I've been looking for it for a long time. Is the Mario Paint came with the mouse, right?
Oh yeah.
You know, there was a little cleaning stick that came with it with a little purple top.
Yep. You can't find it.
I mean, they're on eBay, but I don't want to. I just want to find one at a local retro game store one day. You know what I mean?
Well, you might find it at a convention.
You never find it.
Might find it. At a
you might, or at a convention. There's going to be about the best options because I don't want to pay $10-15 shipping for a little stick. You know what I mean?
I agree. I want to bring attention to Johnny Graphics chat here that he put in here. He says, the most niche, the better, and I would say that, you know, especially since we're talking to creators here, and you know you were talking about videos and stuff. The more niche you can make it, the better. Like, you know, just my journey of collecting the complete NES collection. You know, people find those videos interesting, and I think just you know, being a noob at a certain console, I watched my Lynx video that I did as a short do very well because I am a noob when it comes to it. I am not afraid to admit it. Because I didn't have it as a kid. We talked about that. NES was what I had. So I think to be able to glean on other people, I think that's really, really, really cool to be able to do that. So what we can do now, what I want to put out there now is if you have any questions for Matt, we're going to turn this into Q&A. And if you have some questions that have been burning before and you're just afraid to ask Matt, well, now you can ask him in the chat room. We'll hide you. No, I'm just kidding. He's going to be willing to answer some of the questions. We'll pull up your chats as well to put this in here. And remember, guys, if you're enjoying the show, you know, consider subscribing. It helps the channel out. But also, if you're a creator or you're doing something really cool, and I consider even if you're making something, it doesn't even necessarily have to be a YouTube creator. If you're a creator, you need to email me, steve@ttbgaming.com, so you can be a guest on the show. Well, I might only have 15 or 20 subscribers if I'm a YouTube creator. I don't care. If you've got a story and it's interesting, I want to hear about it. Right, Matt? We want to hear about it. Everybody wants to hear everybody's story, right?
And it's a super admirable thing you got going on here, man. I really appreciate you bringing me on here and seeing Scott and Rob and Right Way and Brandy and everybody on here. They deserve to have their day in the spotlight for a minute.
Oh, absolutely. And so Game Dad brings it out. The first question: if your house was on fire, what would you save first?
Probably the one game I have left. The three games, they're loose discs. They're all right next to each other on the shelf over there that I have left from my childhood. That I got at that garage sale that day. And the one even still has a sticker on it for $1 from the garage sale.
So, Art Freak 06, Lynn wants to know. Harley wants to know. Let me make sure I get that correct. Harley wants to know, out of all your Mario stuffies, which one is your son's favorite?
Oh, without a doubt, Mario and Luigi. Like he goes to bed with them every night. We gotta do like Mario and Luigi voices, like oh, we're going to bed now. Like, all the rest of them pretty much just sit on the shelf, and all of the family like came together and just slowly been buying them, Mario plushies since the movie came out because he's like crazy obsessed with the movie, and that's died off a little bit, but now when we put the movie in, we got to bring all the plushies in, and we got to we got to act them all out when Bowser's talking or when Peach is talking.
So
Game
Closet doesn't have he doesn't have a question. But he does want to comment on your Mario paint. And he says, Matt, I had the whole Mario paint. Bought it brand new and sold it a while ago. Man, he is.
I just need the stick, Scott. So if you find the stick, let me know.
Well, you know what? I'll keep my eyes peeled at different conventions and such that I go to as well. I'm looking for a complete in box. I bought the Super Game Boy complete in box with the cellophane still on the outside of the box. I don't really do a lot of in-box collecting unless I get a really good deal on it. My consoles, though, I get complete in box. I don't like to buy them loose if I can. That's
I'm the same.
One pet peeve I have.
I got like 4 more CIB consoles I need to get, and then I'm all done. I'm promised that I'm all done. That's all. That's all the CIB consoles I'm gonna have.
Johnny Graphics in the chat room says, "Will you ever frame all of those posters? And if so, will you still have the courage to put them on the ceiling?"
I mean, I would definitely have the courage to put them on the ceiling, but whenever I do frames, I like to make them myself, and that's a lot of time, man. I should definitely do that Persona one though. That Persona 5 banner from GameStop from 2017. I should probably frame that one.
Yeah, that's a really interesting question. I had never given any thought to. I know a lot of people they do they frame their games or their posters. Excuse me.
And another thing about that is interchangeable. Like I got so much promo stuff from GameStop and stuff, and I switched out. I'll take them down and I'll put new stuff back up, and that's another reason I don't have them all framed and everything. And I don't like Walmart frames. Like I got a couple from Walmart, and like gravity just pulls the bottoms of them off. And
I was gonna say they all fall apart, don't they?
Yeah, they just fall apart. Like
ridiculous.
I'm not a carpenter by trade. I'm a foreman. I'm a painter, but I was a carpenter's assistant for many years, so I'm well aware how to make picture frames, and I do it all the time. And that's typically what I do when there's one I really like. Like I got my Mortal Kombat over here for the frame I made. I got here. Check this out. Original Super Dodgeball poster
nice.
from
That's cool.
87 frame made.
Nice.
And they're not all wood frames. We can do like plastic frames too, and make them yourself, and order the glass or cut the plexiglass yourself. But I'm pretty into that. Like everything in my game room, I've made. Like I made my display case. All my shelves that hold all my CIB, my big game stand, like all that stuff. That's another thing I like about the game room. I rarely like buy something, to hang lights with or for shelving. I usually find some sort of repurposable material and do it.
That's all that matters. It works and it makes it different for other people. Lindsay in the chat room says, question: how do you decide what video to make next?
Like I said, like I'll do the whole circle method and decide which videos I'm gonna try to concentrate on, but I'm horrible at sticking to anything. I do my video game monthly every month, without a doubt. Those happen all the time. But usually
do
just
you let me expound on that. Do you ever sit there and watch a video and go, I should make a video on that because he could have went deeper or they could have went deeper on that, and I know I could go deeper on it. Do you ever think that?
um I wouldn't say the inspiration's quite like that. I might watch a video and be like, man, I never played that turn-based RPG, and then get into the whole franchise, and then like maybe I want to do a video that covers the whole franchise in a quick type scenario in like 10 minutes or something. You know what I mean? I take inspiration in that way.
Okay.
Sometimes I feel like I could add something, but there's some really good creators out there. I watch them and I'm like, man, there's sometimes it's like you nailed it. You know what I mean? I couldn't add nothing to that. You nailed it. But there's definitely times by watching and seeing the different games, I get inspired to go seek out those or other types of games in that same genre or what have you. And you know what I mean? That inspires me for sure.
Yeah, I mean, because there's some creators out there that will wait till there's a hot trend of
Oh
like,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know what I'm saying? Like they'll be
I'm not a trend chaser at
no,
all.
but there are,
So
and I
far
think
from it.
that's why I was trying to have you elaborate a little bit more because there are people that'll
No,
be like, if all of a sudden like Street Fighter, we'll just use this as an example. It's not, so nobody make a video on it. Street Fighter 6. Let's just say that for example. Let's say there's some kind of news or something happens. It's like everybody just bang, 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 all the same video
right.
about the same thing. Like it really.
I've never been a trend chaser when it comes to making videos. Like, if it's a video I feel like may do pretty well, I'll do my keyword research in the YouTube studio or other types of services that are like that out there, and I'll figure out if it's gonna be like a real research heavy video, if it's really gonna be worth the time. You know what I mean? Even though it's something I'm passionate about. Because I can be passionate about it and still be passionate about it and not spend 75 hours making a video. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
There's a fine line where everybody's happy. I have a good time making the video. The viewers have a good time watching it. You know what I mean? And that's a big part of trying to determine which video I'm gonna make next, which one's easiest for me. And I feel like the audience wants, like my specific audience as well, not just like for evergreen video purposes. You know what I'm saying? It's a dabble. Some of the videos are for me. Some of the videos are specifically for my audience. Some of the videos are evergreen type videos. That'll always be relevant. So it's a mixed bag. You know what I mean? And sometimes it's a roll of the dice because I do shit off the fly all the time. So
Well, and I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with that. I think sometimes people think that we're just ultra creative, and then there's times where like I'm at right now. I have video. I'm so far behind. I have at least 4 videos that I need to make that I haven't made yet, just because of life. Like I can't put it any other way. So it's nice to hear you say, like, hey, if it's something I want to do, I do it. But then there's certain situations where, like, you get a review product, you have to do the review, and so that kind of takes precedence because they want you to do the review. And let's say you're not super happy with the product that you get, right? Like
right,
it's not super exciting because it doesn't work the way you thought it did, and they want you to hype it up, and it's really not that great, and you don't want to hurt their feelings, but you also want to tell your audience the truth. That
right.
really puts a damper on things when you have to create a video. And a lot of times I backpedal and I'm like, you really don't want me to do a video on this because I'll gladly send it back, but it's just not doing or it's not working the way it should. So I think that
Yeah.
that kind of
I
gets
try
me in
to
a funk.
avoid any type of negative situation. Like I
Yeah,
probably could be requesting review codes or I mean accessories or anything at this point, but I just don't feel like I'm there yet. Like I don't feel like I'm in that position where I should be requesting those things, or even that my content creating skills are in my own opinion good enough to where I'd want to highlight somebody else's product in that way. You know what I
sure.
mean? I'm still working on me.
And there's nothing wrong with that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. It takes time. But the good part about it is You're still moving forward. You're bettering yourself. You're getting better as you go. And that's
I'm
awesome.
having fun. That's
You're
the
having
main
fun.
factor.
That's right.
That's why I started this hobby, was to have fun. So
That's right. Well, Matt, I think on that note, we're going to wrap this up and end it on a positive note. Is there any last words that you want to put out there to everybody while I pull up your YouTube channel and anything you want to leave people with? Some words of advice or encouragement or whatever.
Just, be kind to everybody. Everybody has different ways of playing and thinking and having fun throughout their life, and no one's person is worse or better than the other. You know what I mean? So whether you're playing Fortnite, whether you're playing dodgeball on the NES, whether you're playing something in between, as long as the person that you're playing with or you're playing yourself is having fun, that's the determining factor. That's why we all play games. That's why we get together at conventions. It's to have fun. There's enough things in life that are going to beat you down. So enjoy the things that you enjoy.
Absolutely. Great words, Matt. Thank you so much for joining us here on Creators Corner. Always great time interviewing the different creators in the space, and I was excited tonight because I hadn't talked to you out of this besides like comments and things like that. So to hear your story and it's just been awesome. Guys, we really appreciate it for tuning in. We'll be back next Thursday with the godfather of retro video games, Glenn Planamento. Until next time, guys, keep it buzzing.